Am I the a-hole for letting our son use his untouched college fund as a down payment on a house and not using it to pay off our daughter's student loans? Our son just graduated college. He was extremely studious in high school and was able to get a full scholarship to the school of his choice. The college fund we saved for him therefore went untouched. Our daughter is a couple years older than our son. Despite our best efforts, she was never the greatest student. So while she was able to go to college, she received no scholarship money. The college fund we saved for her, which actually amounted to a little more than what we saved for our son, covered about half her tuition, with loans making up the rest. Our son did extremely well in college and graduated with a great job. We therefore decided to gift him his college fund to use as a down payment on a house. And with the stock market's gains over the last 4 years, it's grown quite a bit since he went off to school. Our daughter was furious when she found out that our son's college fund went towards him buying a house. She said that he's already way ahead of her in life, since he graduated debt-free with a much better paying job than our daughter's, and it's not fair to put him even further ahead. She maintains the fair thing to have done is to have put our son's fund towards paying off her loans. Both my husband, our son, and I think our daughter is being entitled, but she told some of our extended family how unfair we're being and they're taking her side. Are we somehow the unfair ones here? Now for the top comments. I'm inclined to say not they hole. This is a classic fair versus equal issue. Fair would say that both kids graduate debt-free, so long as you have the money to do so. That is, everyone gets what they need regardless of who needs more. While equal would say that each kid gets the same amount regardless of need. Neither is wrong, and given your kids aren't owed a college fund, you're already being very generous. It's really up to you whether you choose to be fair or to be equal. You choose equal. Each kid gets their own fund, and that's completely valid. Most wills choose equal too, giving each child the same amount regardless of who needs it more. My friend's parents chose fairness, leaving their money to their social worker son rather than their daughter married to a well-paid executive. But needs changed and left her, cleaning out their accounts. He did have to share assets eventually, but she did not get alimony, have to be married 20 years in my state, and her standard of living is now lower than her brother's. That is super crappy. I would hope the son would realize this and give half his inheritance to his sister, which would be unlikely. I would have given a disproportionate amount to my child in greater need, but not 100% versus none. I'm sure her parents would be sad/ashamed at how it worked out. Not they hole. You had the same amount of money earmarked for each kid. Your daughter isn't entitled to more because she struggled more. You were perfectly fair giving them the same amount, and they used it the way each of them needed to. Actually, they said they saved up more money in the daughter's fund. Not they hole. The goal of college funds isn't to have complete equity of outcomes. It's to provide the same resources to each child. Kids will have different scholarships or differently priced schools, and that will impact how far their funds go. Presumably, you do the same for your daughter if the situation was flipped. Now, for the next story. Am I the a-hole for rejecting my stepkid's younger siblings from my daycare? I married my husband 10 years ago. My stepkids were 4 and 5 at the time, now 14 and just turned 16. My husband's ex has despised the fact my husband and I married before her and her husband. And she has made her hatred of me/us known to my stepkids, and in turn, my stepkids have closed themselves off from me and rejected my attempts to get close to them. We've been to court, we have presented proof to the judge, taken them to therapy, but mom's hold over them is strong, and her words are taken more seriously than my husband's with the kids. I tried to be a loving, caring stepmother who didn't overstep, but my stepkids have been perfectly clear. I am nothing to them and will always be nothing to them. So I am less hyper-focused in what they think of me. For years, it kept me awake at night with worry and sadness. Now, I'm sad. Breaks my freaking heart that I love them and they don't reciprocate because of some dumb issue their mom had with me that turned to hate. But it's the cards we have been dealt with. I run a daycare. It's the cheapest daycare around because I always dreamed of giving back in some way to working families. And so I was able to make it work. It is popular, but we always do our best to take kids when needed. My husband's ex and her husband have kids together. Their youngest two are not in school, and their household was hit hard by COVID, so they tried to register their kids in my daycare. I rejected them. I did so because I did not feel like it would be healthy to have that extra layer of dealing with each other. The woman already hates me, has told me not to touch her kids. And while I run the place, I also work there. With the kids. So never interacting with her kids will not be a thing that can happen. And I am afraid she would go out of her way to try and get me shut down as some petty revenge thing. The issue is, she was pissed about the rejection and told my stepkids, and they told my husband's family, who now think I'm the a-hole, as well as the ex of my stepkids, because this could have been me showing my stepkids that I'm willing to go out of my way for their other family. And that is fine. Except I have always done my best to be kind, to be friendly, to not fight, and it wasn't enough. I don't see this one thing tipping the scale after a decade. But I want to know if I'm the a-hole for rejecting the kids from my daycare? Not the a-hole. She asked you not to touch her kids. How can you do that if they're at your daycare? OP is being smart and protecting herself, her employees, and her business. All it takes is one allegation, and she could lose everything. Suppose on if the kiddos has an accident. What's to stop the mother from alleging abuse? Part of me thinks that's the mother's end goal anyway. She cannot stand OP. So why out of every other childcare situation known to humanity would she want her kids to be cared for by OP? Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your decision seems well thought out, and you have the right to do what's best to protect your own family and business. I can't even comprehend after everything she has done to you that she would even think this was okay to try to enroll her kids with you. Though it may very well have been another ploy to make you look bad. As in, she knew you'd say no. She knew it would cause more friction, and it was just another way to make you look bad to your stepkids. I'm sorry you have to experience all of this from your husband's ex, but your continued ability rising above the situation is a testimony to your character, and, well, her behavior is a testament to her own. Good luck. Not the a-hole. It sounds like you have a damn good reason not to be anywhere near her kids. If she's already told you not to touch her kids, then tries to enroll said kids at your daycare, yeah, I'd be worried too that she's trying to pull something. Not the a-hole. This would be a crap show waiting to happen if you allowed those kids in. Imagine they have a serious accident at daycare, or even not so overly serious but get a bruised knee, etc. Who do you think is getting the blame regardless of the circumstances? I'm about to sound like an a-hole, but the ex could be picturing a huge insurance payout if something were to happen. 100% you did the right thing rejecting them. This has been my fear too. Like maybe even a small paper cut, I could see sending her over the edge. Next story. Am I the a-hole for manipulating my daughter's marriage? From the title, I'm sure I, 49 male, do sound like one. My eldest daughter seems to believe I am, so wanted to know if she's right. A couple years ago, my daughter Nat, who was 21 at the time, introduced us to her fiancé, a 46-year-old man, literally 1 year younger than me. Everyone in the family was livid. My ex-wife, and so was I, honestly. It took a lot of restraint not to lose control the first time I met him. Nat said they met at work. He wasn't her direct supervisor due to them working different departments, but that still didn't sit right with me. She swore up and down they're in love and they were gonna make it work. Nat is a sweet girl, very smart and mature, but the first time I met him, I saw right through him. Actually got some pretty good advice from a close friend of mine. He encouraged me to befriend the guy, support my daughter even if I don't support it. But be his friend in a way that makes my daughter see his real age and show how completely different they really are. I wasn't over the top with it, but I did attempt to become close with him, not that I enjoyed any second of it. When they'd come over for a visit, we spent hours talking about politics, work, what our plans were once we finally hit retirement, shared stories from childhood. Sometimes I could tell the conversations would bore my daughter, even when we'd include her in them. It's been over a year since they got married, and Nat decided to leave him a few weeks ago. She asked me for help finding an attorney, so me and her mom have been helping out with that. She left other place, so at the moment she's staying with me. As I suspected, she realized they were not compatible at all, and it just felt weird according to her how similar me and him are. I'll be honest, I'm relieved I won't have to be his friend anymore. Everyone came over for Father's Day. Nat went with her brother to buy more chips and sodas, so it was only me and eldest daughter. My eldest daughter asked if I'd be able to cope with not having my buddy anymore, and I said of course. It's not like I enjoy being around the guy. She asked what I meant, and I explained I only became friendly with him so that Nat could see more of his actual age, how different they actually are, and so that she wouldn't shut me out of her life. My daughter is taking it like I intentionally manipulated the man in order to end his marriage. She thinks now that I'm an a-hole for befriending him under false pretenses, just to get Nat to leave him, and it's basically my fault they're divorcing. I'm not sure how it would be my fault. Nat said herself she saw how completely incompatible they were. But she does seem to think I was one for being part of why she left him. Honestly, I'm lost here. Am I the a-hole? Added to clarify, this conversation was with my other daughter, not with Nat. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You did good. Clearly, you were right about him. If you didn't expedite the process, she would have only realized it 3 to 5 years from now. She's upset because you were right and she was wrong. Sadly, this is the correct answer, only because it sucks she got taken advantage of to begin with. Not the a-hole. You were being polite and cordial, even if you meant to kill him with kindness and expose him, because that's just who he is. A 46-year-old man. Her father's peer, not her own. There was no deceit or malice in your actions, only concern and support for your daughter and her husband, even if you didn't approve. I hope she can recover and be well from the divorce, and ends up happy as both an individual person and in any future relationships. If the fiancé had been a rage but unlikable for some reason, the same approach would have been a good one as well. 21 is still young enough to be in rebel mode. Not giving the daughter something to rebel against and not making staying with him feel necessary to save face was a good decision. Not the a-hole. Your only mistake was not taking this little bit of showmanship to the grave. Her marriage didn't end because of you. It ended because she realized, with a bit of indirect help, that this relationship was not what she wanted. For real, why did he have to tell his daughter about that? What was Opie thinking? It's not something you brag about. After all, the marriage ended already. You're the a-hole for giving the plot away. My eldest daughter asked if I'd be able to cope with not having my buddy anymore. No, it made my daughter unhappy. There was no reason to monologue like a Bond villain. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for making my husband fish out our son's dirty diaper from the water? Hello. Me, female 29, and my husband, male 33, haven't gone out in a while, about 4 months. And the reason for that is he lost his best friend. They were like brothers, and this loss was very devastating for my husband. As a result, he's become less active and less interested in doing things. I wanted to cheer him up and get some family time together, and since weather is hot, I wanted us to go have fun at the beach. We had a tent at the beach and brought our own food and stuff we needed to spend the day. My husband wanted to change our son's diaper, so I let him handle it while I prepared a meal. When finished, I asked him to wrap the dirty diaper and put it in the trash bin outside. He went outside for a minute, then came back. I then went outside the tent and saw a teenager telling me my husband just tossed our son's dirty diaper in the water. I was shocked. I confronted him and asked why he didn't dispose the diaper in the trash bin. He said he couldn't find it after looking, and decided to toss the diaper into the water because he was too tired to walk further. I said it was unhygienic and disgusting to throw it into the water where people are swimming. His defense was that the waves were going to carry it away. I got so mad at him and told him to quickly fish it out the water because this was disgusting and disrespectful to nature and the people on the beach. He said he could barely see it, so no one would notice. I said someone could have got this on video and posted it, making us look horrible. I pressured him to go after he wanted me to go. He went and was able to get it out, then threw a fit saying I made him go into the water knowing he wasn't prepared, and that it wasn't an emergency, it was just a diaper and people pee in the sea, so what is the difference? He said I knew how much he's been struggling in the past months, and wanted to enjoy a day out on the beach, but I treated him like a child and forced him to make a huge amount of effort to get the diaper out. He remained upset the rest of the day, claiming I exaggerated with how pushy I was. So, did I really ruin the day out for him by making him do that? Not the a-hole. That was lazy and disgusting of him, and he acted like a toddler. If he can't be asked to be an adult, he doesn't need to go on vacations. I understand his feeling down, but that's not an excuse. Also, the husband was confused why he can't throw pee into water. Almost all single-use diapers are not biodegradable and include a variety of plastic-based ingredients. But I treated him like a child and forced him to make a huge amount of effort to get the diaper out. You treated him like a child because he behaved like a child. The huge amount of effort, lol, was a consequence of his own actions. Piggybacking because I think you summed it up nicely. Husband acted like a child, belittling a used diaper into the water out of sheer laziness. I hope he's not the a-hole. Anyone who chooses to litter is the a-hole. Especially when that litter contains human waste. Especially when that litter is a diaper, which are known for being particularly damaging to the environment as they do not break down quickly or easily. A disposable diaper can take 500 years to break down. People pee in the sea, so what is the difference? Urine dissipates very quickly in seawater and is mostly made up of water. People can still step in a pile of baby poop, and a disposable diaper is made out of materials that take years to break down. And the earth is not a trash can. Not a day-haul. Grieving is no excuse to not use a trash can. Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to sing at my brother's wedding? Original post. My brother, 33 male, will be getting married in the fall. The two of us are fairly close, more so in the past few years, which is to say that he is not ignorant about past events in my life. Recently, I, 28 male, got invited to dinner by him and his fiancée. The two were very obviously buttering me up to ask me something the whole time before my brother finally told me. So, fiancé and I have been talking, and we'd really love it if you sang our first dance song. Just the one song. I know you don't really sing anymore, but I dug up some old videos of you singing, and she loves your voice just as much as I do. This could be your wedding present to us. For background, I used to sing all the time. I formed a band with a bunch of my friends in high school, and we were very minorly successful. We had a YouTube channel with a few hundred subscribers, and there were a handful of people that had their own recordings that were posted to their own pages. In this band was my best friend since second grade, Mason. Unfortunately, when we were 17, Mason took his own life. Additionally, I was the one who found him. The band dissolved almost immediately, and our YouTube channel and all our own videos were taken down. Since then, I have never sung. Singing without Mason felt wrong, so I didn't. Not in the shower, no karaoke sessions, not at church. Never. My brother knew all of this, but I wasn't sure if his fiancée did. So I started off with, "Sorry, I'll have to refuse. You know I don't sing anymore," in the interest of not totally ruining dinner. My brother was annoyed as heck at this. "Come on, it's for my wedding, it's just one song. I'm not asking for much here," and so forth. I continued to politely refuse, and left soon after. Shortly after, I started receiving countless calls from my mom, who also knows the reason why, and decided to harass me about not singing. "It's your brother's wedding. I think you really should see a therapist about this. We all love your singing voice, and it's been 10 years since any of us got to hear it." The two have since decided on a new tactic, by saying that my song will be a good way to honor Mason's memory. The point about therapy aside, I've been to lots of it. I'm at peace with my decision to stop singing. Am I the a-hole for refusing? It's clearly important to them. Now for some comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. Your mom and brother should see a therapist. As usual, wedding planning turns some people into monsters. Telling him to see a therapist so that maybe he could resume doing something that brought him joy? Great idea. Doing so because you want something from him? Horrible idea. It's your voice and your choice. Your brother, mother, and more than likely your brother's fiancé know why you no longer sing. Just because it's a wedding doesn't mean you must revisit your trauma. Not the a-hole. Edit. Okay, y'all, this is overwhelming. Let me throw a few things in. 1. I don't know if my future sister-in-law is aware of the full situation or not. I'd like to think she doesn't, but I'd rather not poke that hornet's nest until I have to. 2. Yes, I have been to therapy. Singing is something I did with Mason, well before we started a full band. It very much feels like a part of my life that belongs in the past. As I said in the edit, my joy is not from singing, it's from performing with him. 3. Is that what Mason would have wanted? I don't know. He's not around to ask anymore. 4. The extended family is not blowing up my phone. It's 2 people, and it's not blowing it up. My mom called repeatedly in one day and has tried to throw it in a few times since. My brother is mostly giving me the cold shoulder. It's only been a few weeks since this conversation took place. 5. To whoever said, "It's been 10 years. You're not good enough to sing at a wedding?" Thank you. I genuinely laughed at this. It's a good point too. I'd probably sound like a donkey kicked me in the throat. Now for the first update a few days later. This is premature, but since the post I made was more popular than I expected or wanted, I thought I'd give a small update. Future sister-in-law reached out to me because her washer broke, and she wanted to come over and do a quick load of laundry. I wasn't thrilled about this, but I live close enough. I have in-unit laundry, and the laundromats in our area are not the safest. I was content to just watch TV silently in my tiny apartment while we waited. But she of course had something to discuss. I thought for sure she'd be the third person to try to convince me, but no. Instead, she told me that she wasn't sure if my brother was giving her the full story. She told me he used to sing all the time. He was in a band, but he quit when the band broke up. Which is technically true, but come on. I also learned that he had told many of his friends this too, about how he's always trying to convince me to come around and sing for all of them. He had literally never asked before the conversation, but was prone to making comments like, "Boy, it sure sucks you don't sing anymore. I know a lot of people that would want to hear that." So I very briefly told her about Mason, just the important bits. That I used to sing with him, then he died, so I don't have any desire to do so anymore. She didn't say anything for a while, but I saw her face go through about a dozen different emotions, and I'm pretty sure she settled on anger. Before she left, she just told me that she's going to tell my brother to get someone else to sing. I got the distinct feeling that it's not going to be a pleasant conversation. So that's it so far. All quiet. Fingers crossed. Go future sister-in-law. At least you have somebody in your corner. And sorry for your loss. Points to her for being able to pick up on this can't possibly be the full story and calmly going to the source. She's too good for her future husband. Your brother is a jerk. I hope she chews his butt out. At least now she understands. And hopefully going forward, she'll have your back and correct him when he says this crap to other people. Second update a month later. I cannot believe that this is still a thing, much less one that people are interested in. Lucky me though, because the overwhelming support I received here convinced me to do some things I definitely wouldn't have done otherwise. New things happen pretty quickly, but I held off on a new post because my last one was premature. Some things people predicted happened, other things did not. Let's get this out of the way up front. The wedding is still on. The wedding will always still be on. This was never in doubt. I think a lot of commenters vastly overestimated my importance. After talking with future sister-in-law, I did not hear anything from my brother, at least initially. I did eventually get a short text from her, just saying that I shouldn't worry about the wedding anymore and they'll find someone else. My mom was another story. She called me repeatedly since I ignored her first few calls, and when I finally picked up, she was about 2 steps below screaming into the phone about how I interfered in your brother's relationship and made things so much harder for them. And do you know how upset he is right now? It's time to put grudges aside and make amends. It was not an especially long conversation. I feel it is important to provide some context for my mom. I've seen some comments about how she has clear favoritism for my brother. Strictly speaking, I'm not sure that's true. Over the years, she said or did some things to my brother that have, at several points, caused him to go no contact with her. Some of these I fully understood. Others created some questions. As a result, my mom tends to overcompensate when it comes to him because I think she's terrified of getting cut off again. I did a lot of self-reflection over the next few days about my relationships with my family members and decided it was time to have a very honest conversation with my brother. I even booked a bonus therapy session specifically to prepare myself for this conversation. I called him up and asked him point blank if, knowing I will absolutely not be singing for him, he still wanted me to attend. He didn't answer for a bit, but eventually he said yes. I remembered a bunch of comments that said he may still try to pull something at his reception anyway, using public pressure and announcing me as the singer. While I personally didn't find that to be especially likely, my brother is a big planner and scheduler. I realized I no longer trusted him like I used to and said as much, and that I will only be attending the ceremony, not the reception. He had a minor freak out over this. "Are you freaking kidding me?" But then said it was whatever, and that I needed to come up with a concrete excuse for my absence so that BS doesn't overshadow everything. Fine, whatever, and that I could no longer be his groomsman since that would leave an empty chair at the head table. We hung up shortly after. We have not spoken again since. Something that hasn't come up before. We both have two other brothers, 35 and 26. Neither lives in the same area as us. My younger brother lives on the other side of the country, and we don't talk especially frequently. So I don't know what, if anything, they had heard about the situation previously. Well, because he kicked one of his brothers out of the wedding party, he decided to replace the other two as well because it wouldn't look right to have just 2 out of 3 of his brothers as groomsmen, so instead opted for 0 out of 3. Eldest brother got kind of bratty about it. He included all 3 of his brothers in his wedding party when he got married and is mainly mad about the non-reciprocation, but never asked for nor received the full story on our feud. I don't especially enjoy talking to him, so if he wants to blame me for getting booted from the wedding party, that's fine. My younger brother, on the other hand, made it his personal mission to extract every single detail possible from all parties. He called me up to get my side, and then decided he was going to join me in skipping the reception. He has decided to start brainstorming an excuse for the both of us. Honestly, I think he was looking for an excuse not to go anyway. He despises family functions. At this point, I am praying for no more updates. This is just freaking absurd. The wedding cannot come soon enough. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my brother money for rent after my mom shamed me for prioritizing my own family? I, 28 female, have 2 kids, 3 and 7, and a husband, 30 male. We're doing our best to stay on top of things financially, but it's hard. We both work full-time, and we're saving for the future, paying off debt, and just trying to make sure our kids have everything they need. The last few years have been a struggle, but we're getting there. A few hours ago, my brother, in his mid-20s, called me and asked me to lend him $4,500 for his rent because he's behind on payments. He's been struggling financially for a while now because of poor spending habits, and now he's in danger of being evicted. He said his life would fall apart if I didn't help. I told him I couldn't. We're not in a position to throw around that kind of money, especially since I have my own family to take care of. Plus, he's been asking for help like this for years, and I just don't think it's right to keep bailing him out. Later, my mom called me and really laid into me. She said I was being selfish and that family comes first. She told me I could always rebuild my savings later and that I should help my brother because he's in a crisis. She even said, "Don't you want to show your kids what family is supposed to be? That's the kind of example you should be setting." She accused me of choosing my own family over him and said I needed to grow up and be there for your brother when he needs you. Now she doesn't speak to me but is telling other relatives that I'm heartless and unsupportive. They themselves are calling me, telling me that she is calling around saying that my husband is fully on my side, but I feel like I'm being torn apart by the guilt from my mom and brother. Also, I'm sorry if this text is too long. I don't know, wanted to vent. You're taking care of your own family, which is your priority. You've helped your brother before, and it's unreasonable for him to keep asking for large sums of money when he's not making efforts to change his financial habits. Your mom's guilt trip is unfair, and you should not feel pressured into jeopardizing your family's well-being. It's important to set boundaries, and you made the right call by saying no. They really laid it on me. I feel so bad, and I want to be a good person, but I am in an impossible position, and them throwing it in my face is so vile. Not the a-hole. Props to you for not enabling your brother. This is kinda an issue I am dealing with at the moment with my wife, and she cannot say no. How do you guys handle that situation? I truly do not know how to handle this, even though I did say no to my brother. I think as adults we all make decisions that affect the outcome of the present and future. I don't tell my wife not to loan money, but I do tell her, what does this teach them? We have had instances she has loaned her sister money and she has not paid us back. We continue to have this conversation every time it happens, and in reality, if we continue to loan them money, we become enablers. Finally, this takes away from your family, especially your kids. Anyone who asks for money and isn't good for it can take a hike, family or not. Do not listen to your mom. She is an enabler as well, respectfully. She never helps him. She's pushing him onto me and tells me to take care of him because I am his big sister. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not apologizing to my parents for putting them through hell and making them feel guilty for divorcing? 10 years ago, my parents sat me, 17 female, and my brother, 19 male, down and told us they were getting a divorce. My brother was angry, and after calling them hypocrites and yelling for a minute, he withdrew. The hypocrite thing came because they could be very forceful when it came to building and keeping relationships. And more than once, they forced my brother to have play dates or attend the birthday parties of a kid who was mean to him and others. It used to annoy him, and he was miserable spending time with this kid. Our parents would say he had nobody, and my brother being nice would make him nice back, but it didn't. Our parents would insist you don't just give up on people in relationships, even though my brother and this kid didn't have one outside the pushing. But my brother found their stance hypocritical when they were divorcing. He's still withdrawn from them today. For me, the news made me break down, and I cried and begged them not to get divorced. The stuff I heard about divorce from my friends sounded awful to me, and I'd heard my friends cry over having to choose which parent they did something with, or not having one family and instead having two, and the never having one house thing. Most of my friends didn't like things being that way. I hated the idea of that happening to us, and I became pretty distraught. In the aftermath, I struggled to adjust to two houses. I got upset when my parents had other partners and missed being all together. When I asked, I was told divorced families don't do that, and I needed to get okay with two separate things for everything. I never settled into splitting my time between two houses. I still hated it, and a few months ago, I ended it by asking my grandparents if I could live with them, and they said yes. My parents didn't like it, but my relationship with both became really strained after they told me they were divorcing. I never felt supported by either, and they built up a lot of resentment toward me. That resentment started coming out once I moved out. My dad has 2 stepkids and my mom has 3. They both compared me to the stepkids who don't have a problem with 2 households or who don't ask to invite their other parent for stuff. My mom told me none of her husband's kids cried when they were told about their parents' divorce. Dad said his stepkids were happy about the divorce of their parents, that they were tired of an unhappy home. There are times they'll bring up, separately from each other, how I made them feel bad for wanting to be happy, and how I made a difficult thing more difficult when I got so hysterical. My mom accused me of making my brother's anger worse by being so upset, which made him fight them for me. She said I was a manipulative child who used tears to get her own way, and wasn't really upset, but just wanted to force them to stay together. My dad told me I was exhausting and so much hard work when he knew kids who had zero reaction to their parents' divorce. Then my mom asked me if I saw the divorce as a good thing, and I said no. She got so mad at me that my grandparents, who are her parents, made her leave. Then a week later, I got calls from both my mom and my dad within days of each other, saying I owed them an apology for putting them through hell when I was 7 and making them feel guilty for divorcing. My brother never got any of this. We talked about it, and he was just really angry at our parents for their behavior toward me and for blaming me when they did nothing to help. Am I the a-hole? Jesus Christ, you were 7 years old. Not the a-hole. They were crappy parents to begin with, and have only gotten worse. They forced their child to spend time with his bully? Why, God only knows. They have the right to divorce. They don't get to exclude the other parent. I know divorced people that organize birthdays, go to school events, even holidays together, so the kids can have both parents present for important events. They could have gotten you therapy to get used to 2 different houses. They never considered that moving on a weekly basis without any emotional support would be difficult for a 7-year-old, that having step-siblings take your space in both your parents' lives would be difficult without any reassurance. They are crappy parents, and the only way they can be able to live with themselves is by pretending, by putting the blame on someone else. Usually, it's the ex that becomes the scapegoat, not a 7-year-old. I would go no contact at the stroke of midnight on your 18th birthday. My parents told us that bullies are sometimes the saddest kids, and they need good friends the most. When my brother said he was never happy spending time with him, they told him it made the other kid happy deep down, and it should make him happy too. They also mentioned that sometimes we have to do things for other people, even if we're unhappy about it. He said at one time they really meant me and him had to do things to make other people happy, because our happiness didn't matter to them. Any of my friends with divorced parents either had one parent abandon them, or they're still forced to pick between them. That became my experience in the most toxic way because both resent me deeply. It sucks. They never believed I should need support or help. My grandparents got me into therapy when I moved in with them, and my parents refused to pay. They said it was a waste of time and they never said I needed therapy, so why would they pay? My grandparents are still angry about that.